Well, after going through the part one of the Freiburg Basel Reloaded video, you should have a working route. Go ahead and test it out if you haven't. You should be able to create your own scenarios now. You should also be able to do a quick drive, and and set up free roam situations as well. So you should have basically a working route. And again, if you haven't, go ahead and test that out to make sure that everything works all right. So then the next step is, if you want to go beyond creating your own scenarios, downloading some other scenarios, you can do a search on the web and find some pretty good scenarios. As a matter of fact, I do a search on Freiburg Basel Reloaded scenarios, and you'll find some scenario packs and stuff like that that are out. The best one that I have found, and I haven't taken a look at these too much, but I know that the one that I ended up picking up, because I have signed on worked with, downloaded other things from railsim.de that I've found very, very good. I went ahead, and again, I'm using Google Chrome with built-in translation. You can use other web browsers. I've just found Chrome to be pretty good as far as translating pages with that you click on as well. So this is pretty good. It's actually quite nice, actually, and I'll go over it. There's 20 routes. It takes a number of trains and rolling stock that I don't have. So it'll be a good exercise in doing our swapping exercises as well. So you just go through here and click download. Download each of these, and we don't care about that. And then once that gets downloaded and extracted, I put it in the same folder that we did the route itself. And so there's all of our required items. I put this here into scenario 00 for the actual scenario, and then some of the freeware items that it links to, which I'll show you here. So here's the RWP that is the set of scenarios itself. You go into the just a second. Go into wherever you have your Steam library. Common, Railworks, go into the utilities.exe, and if you've gone through the first video, this is all old hat to you. Hit Package Manager, refresh, and you would, any of these scenarios, whether it be one or a pack, should come with the RWP file. And then let's bring this over a little bit. Click on Install and click on where you have it extracted. Navigate down to the RWP and click Open. Okay, and in this case, I have installed it, so you can see them. BLXT FRBA Pack 01 has the scenarios installed. Okay, so then once you get done with that, then you go back and take a look at the README file. Here's a listing of the scenarios that come with this specific pack. Now, I already did the number one I kind of messed up on that because I didn't follow I didn't make a copy of it. And if you want to find out more details about the scenario, you can click on the link there, and for each one of the routes, it has a list of freeware rolling stock that's used, and I think it's the same for each one of the routes as far as this list, and then a set of payware rolling stock. Now, I decided I don't want to add a lot of this stuff. I already have some of it, or I have other things that I would rather use that I already have, and a lot of these here are repaints, and they're repaints on equipment that I don't have. So you can translate that yourself and decide if you want to add additional rolling stock. I would caution you to start off with the first time through, based on my experience in getting substituting from too many different scenarios. I'm going to stick with two things, or just a few things that I'm going to use for fixing the scenarios, and I'll get into that in a minute. Now that we have the scenarios installed, we can go ahead and let's run Train Simulator. Now, unless I overwrote it, I did do the scenario number 1, and so I'm going to do, it's a standard scenario, and we're going to select our Freiburg Basel 2018 route, and we're going to do number 2. I'm going to go ahead and run it just to see what it comes up with my default without making any changes to it. Takes a minute to load, of course. Okay, so there you see is a fairly short list of items that are missing. What I do is I go into my little note thing here, and I've got a note that this is the BLXD02 route. It's the Rembrandt. Here's the vehicles that are missing, and I have a little table here with the information on how I'm going to replace the items that are missing on it. Okay, so that way, if I run into problems, I can know what I changed, and I can maybe switch them with something else. Because sometimes I'll pick something that Train Simulator doesn't like me using. All right, so that sets me up with the basics. Now what we're going to do is create a copy of the route. Now I can go into Build and Scenario, and go down to Basel Reloaded, click this, and click on Clone. But for this exercise, what I'm going to do is go ahead and do everything in TS Tools. All right, so let's bring up TS Tools. And go to Route Building Tools, check Routes or Scenarios. Freiburg Basel Reloaded, click on the scenario number 2, clone scenario, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 00, just in case if I want to clone this again. I can make a clone of the original and call it 01. Maybe I mess up this one here and want to do it over again. Or maybe I want to change the weather in one of the scenarios, and I really like the scenario, and I want to run the scenario again and keep that one, but I want to change the weather. I have the weather ad on there for one thing, but even if you don't, you can go ahead and change the weather. So click OK, and it has been duplicated. So now we're ready to get to work and changing the stock. So you go into scenario and edit scenario, go down to our reloaded, and down at the bottom is our 000 or 00 scenario 2. Click on that and click on edit scenario. All right, so it has loaded the scenario, and first thing, this panel here shows the consist, and if it's black, then it is a non-driving consist. And if it is, as we scroll down here, if it is red, it is a driven consist, either AI or player. The player is noted as EC2 1115 Churs. So this is our player. The default, when we load the scenario, this is the one that we're going to be driving. Now the items in the red are missing items, and if we go here, so it's not like we have to change everything. There's quite a few things that is already in the scenario, and depending on what stock you have, it could be different. If we right-click it, this actually shows the location of where the item is. All right, so 3D Zoog, it's using 3D Zoog there. So what we're going to do we know that it uses rail vehicles out of 3D Zoog. We are using the Berlin Freiburg route as a base for this. So if we go here into our handy dandy list of things that we've got here, when we start replacing things, this is all, and if we're going to be using so Pad Labs, this gives us a listing of all the items, all the rolling stock that is in the Freiburg Basel route by default. So I feel pretty comfortable using all those. And in looking at, and then we will also look at the 3D Zoog. It's already using vehicles out of the 3D Zoog kit. Now that is an add-on purchase that I had done some time ago, but this gives us a pretty wide variety of freight vehicles to use. And then I am going to also use this also uses, I believe, in looking at some of the other ones, so we've got some virtual railroads, Constance-Willingen rail vehicles, so we could get some rail vehicles out of that. What I don't want to do is introduce a bunch of additional things that's not already kind of in the route itself. And so virtual railroads, some wagons. Oh, this is what's missing here. I want to look to see what it actually has. Sorry. Okay, so I think that gives us an idea of what we're doing. Now, if we go over here, again, red is missing, black, it's found it. So what we're going to be doing is replacing all of the missing items in this scenario, so that hopefully it will work. Now, if you as you take a look here, there are more items that are missing than what we came up with on the screen in Train Simulator. So that's fine. We'll go ahead. Let's work at replacing all the items. Now, one thing that's going to make it nice is that so all these, we don't have to click through every single one to see what is and isn't missing. We just click on consists with missing items. Once we do that, and then we go and click on it. So let's go ahead and get started here. BR150, and there was some virtual railroads, and we can swap that out with a 150 here. And actually we can don't know why it's up there. We'll click on the upper one. Usually we want to try to drill down until there's a rail vehicles folder. There's not one here. So just to make sure I can find it, I'm going to click on that one. If you click at too many folder levels too high, it takes forever to search. This was probably a mistake. This is probably going to take a little while to do. I had success in the other scenario that I did, pulling stock out of the Berlin Leipzig route. So as a backup, if I can't find something appropriate, I'll try to pull out of that. If we run into problems, now the problem I've run into is that if I pull out of multiple directories or libraries of assets there, I get a memory issue for Train Simulator, even doing all the things that I have done then. I don't get it very often for default scenarios anymore. But for the scenarios that I build myself, I tend to run into more of a problem. And I don't know whether it's because of the number of consists or whether it is pulling from too many different folders for the rolling stock. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to keep track of what we're changing here. In looking at the consist number, which is in the panel here, in the upper right hand corner, this is consist 0. We are changing the BR150 dynamic number 3 green EL to BR150, and let's just pick the second one on the list, 030-5 Orient Red EL, and we're going to replace all consists. And we are doing that so we can, if we need to swap this back to, if we run into problems, we know where that we can swap it there. So to swap, we can have a choice here in the center. We can swap a single selected items, swap all, swap identical, swap every consist, swap in all scenarios for this route. So you've got a few different choices here. I don't want to swap in all scenarios for this route because that takes quite a while to do, for one thing. Secondly, I don't know whether I want to change it. I don't have a set of stock that I know that works. So it'll be on the conservative side. I'm going to swap in every consist, which swaps in every consist in this scenario, not for in the route. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me how many items are being changed. Now, when I do a swap in every consist, I will do, once it gets done, I will save the changes to the scenario. Just to be on the, with swapping it out, the Orient Red, swap single, just to make sure we've got save changes. Okay, we have swapped out that successfully now. Now we go into number 2, it is fine. Number 3, we have a regional, and so we can use our, let's take a look at what we've got for in the Freiburg Basel, and do a, let's swap that out with this one here. The Freiburg Basel, if I drill down to, this is typically the way it's going to be, is you'll have a folder with rail vehicles in it. Select electric. And we'll just put the tail end one. I don't think this is being used for anything other than decoration. And what I would look for here is something that annotated ND for non-driving, but this doesn't have it. So we'll just do a single swap there. And all right. So as I go along here, you can see I may still make mistakes, especially not drilling down far enough into the folders and then having to wait. If you're in a higher level folder for a scenario, that could be a big mistake. Consist with missing items. We're down, oh, shoot. We restore all. We did number 2. So in consist 1, I'm not certain, I don't remember what that was, but we did a actually it was number 2 that we swapped, whoops. Number 2, and I don't know what the original was, but we swapped it with Freiburg Basel, the R, DB, BCF, traffic, red for BR111, and that was a single. Okay, consist with missing items, number 3. There's another one. And we'll go ahead and rail vehicles, electric. The reason I'm doing on these here, doing only one, this is a trailing unit for, and I don't want to necessarily change those in my rolling, actual driving vehicles. So I'm thinking that maybe the 189 might be a better for especially these loose consist items. So And I'm also thinking what I should really do is do my driven swaps first, because that's the ones that I'm most concerned about what vehicle is needs to be swapped with, and then go back up to the black ones, the non-drivable ones, and swap them with anything that I've got, because it's a lot easier to do a change in all. So let's start off with our driving one, and we've got the 103, and let's go to, that's our driving one, virtual railroads. I've got a 103, but I think I'll swap it with the 101. Let's see. Since I'm doing single, I can go ahead and swap this. And what I'm going to do here is go to I like the Freiburg VR6 add-on. Let's see. So for the electrics, okay, I had these, actually I'm looking at passenger cars now, but the passenger cars from Berlin Leipzig was a good match here from a time frame. So that was Berlin Leipzig was virtual tracks. So we go down to virtual tracks. Berlin Leipzig roll material, and I'm looking for passenger vehicles now. So I will put an A first class replacing the wagon 1, and I will go ahead and swap in every consist for that. One hand, the more items that you have, when you're doing a swap, it will only swap in the consist that you have in this window. So if you have all of them, it's going to search through every single one, including the ones that already have all of the rolling stock required. So as you get this list down and work through the items, it gets faster and faster. Again, when I swap in all consists, I do a save and then re-edit. If I am swapping multiple items in the same consist, I can usually get away with not having to save after every single change. So now we do consist with missing items. We're still working on this one here. Let's go to the virtual tracks again. Berlin, Leipzig, roll material, passenger car, find. This may not be exactly right, the way things are, but it'll look okay. So we used VMC 109. Oh, I should have switched new stock numbers. So I don't know how important that is. So B, ZMZ 68, Z. I think Z might be the cafe. We'll swap a single item there. And then just a regular ZBNZF, BMZ there, and do a swap in every consist. We'll see, here I did a single, and here I'm doing multiple. We'll see if we work out all right. So it is time consuming. This is a very big and very busy route. I may have to delete some of these consists as well. It may have too many items for my PC to be able to handle it, even though it's a moderately high speed for its 3.8 gigahertz, but with a fairly good graphics card. But that gives you a pretty good idea of the process. It goes faster when I'm doing freight because there's typically more freight items that I'm changing for each cycle through there. Oh, shoot. And I forgot to put down here, silly me. Okay, so this is 39. And so the engine, we swapped it to EL VR BR 101 1050 Yara, and that was a single. And also in 39, we swapped the passenger cars. And that was, for the most part, it was all consist. But that was from Berlin, Leipzig. 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 My fingers were correct, my pronunciation was incorrect. Okay, and then the last one here, we'll go back to virtual railways. That is virtual tracks, Berlin, Leipzig, roll material, passenger. See if we can find something appropriate. Let's do the F. Swap single. All right, so that should take care of our main player, driver player. So we save changes to that. Now we'll go through and do more, replacing all consists. So as an example where things will go a little bit faster, let's go ahead and pick a freight. Oh, this is nice because this is probably not, so this is just swapping out an engine. So we go to, what engines were we looking at? Virtual track, Berlin, Leipzig, roll material, electric, let's see, let's go with a default electric. It's a freight. Probably could use a 111, but let's go ahead and do the 189 there. 189, and let's swap in every consist in case there's another selection for that one there. And so we are swapping. Forgot to note it again, but we were doing freight 1. All right. And let's see. So 48, we changed VR, BR151EL, dynamic number 3, BIBE with Freiburg Basel Pad Labs BR189, all consists. All right, and notice it doesn't change it there. Let's take a note of that. It's number 48. But if we do a save and then edit, and that was 48. And now, so we've properly swapped that. So get the idea there. A little bit more picky about engines. Now let's go ahead and take a look at. So as you notice, I'm not interrupting this while the hourglass is up. Otherwise, I might have to reboot, and I hope I didn't mess up the scenario by doing that. All right, so we save. All right, and then re-edit. Consists with missing items. And here's a 150. So we've already using that, which was virtual tracks, Berlin, Leipzig. Roll material. Where did we get the assets? All right, now when I run, after doing all the replacements using TS Tools, I am getting a message here, which I'm going to capture here, with some of the items that I replaced are having an issue, can't load it. So, and then there is an issue with SE4518. So it's a different set. So we'll exit out of there. and main menu, quit, back to TS Tools, and there's our error message that we've got that we're going to be working with. So if we go into, and that's one of the, that's this is the whole reason why I do all the effort of keeping track of all the items that we replaced. So we go into scenarios, edit scenario, reloaded, and go down to the bottom and edit. Okay. Now let's see. RE465. So there's the two of the items that we've got an issue with. So we will swap those out. That's a loose consist and it's not drivable. It's not red, so it shouldn't make that big a difference. Let's go into Freiburg Basel, rail vehicles. So as you can see, I'm getting an out of memory error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove most or a large number of the loose consists. And so we have nothing with missing items. We know we've got an issue with the timetable. Ah, okay. Wow, that is cool. We were able to get that loaded up. Let's go to the timetable view. And we want to take a look at SE 4518. SE 4518. Don't see any errors on this, but can't find destination, stopping point. Maybe we should Freiburg 308. So I don't know whether this is being taken up by anything else. So I don't get the error message for 308. 307, I don't get an error message. So let's try that and save changes. Okay, and run. .308 SE 4518, which is what we were doing. So timetable mode 4518. So now when we saved it, we've got some, let's see, 4518. Okay, 45 SE 4518. Freiburg Elzan stopping point. It's not showing any issues. Freiburg. Let's see. I don't know whether we can just remove that one and have it sit there. We probably don't want it to sit there. Freiburg, SE 20. Let's see what happens if we just. Well, we are maybe in business now. We've got our train to run. After all that, it's hard to believe it's not as easy. So, next thing we'll do is take it for a run. So, let's see if we can go through here. Standard scenarios, what we set up, and Freiburg Basel, and it was the Rembrandt. It did now change it to the VR150 expert line by itself, so that's kind of cool. I completely got out of Train Simulator and back in. So I got my fingers crossed that if it worked once, it'll work twice. All right. So we don't have any driver instructions, but that's fine. We can figure that out. Let's hit the T button and get our passengers loaded. That's a pretty good looking train there. I have no complaints about that. Doors are still open here. Let's get our headlights on. I'm going to drive with the HUD up because I've only taken this route twice before. Oh, we've got a horn. Woohoo. Make sure I'm small enough in the back and the bottom here that I'm not interfering with taking a look at the train. At least in our swapping, we have coaches. And let's see, let's take a look around here. We've got another set of coaches there waiting for an engine. And we've got an ICE train, some engines over here. Okay, well, we've got... All right, passengers are in. Let's get the brakes off. And for this run, I don't remember whether this has PCB. It probably does, but I am not going to use it. I'm just going to see if I can take it up here. This is more of a freight engine, I think. We've got the shield here for work in the yard. So without PCB on and LCB, we've got 100 kilometer per hour. And we've got, this is a straight shot to Freiburg. There's our 100. Well, if we got a shot, we're not making intermediate stops. We can... We're at 60 kilometers. Well, that doesn't quite fit on the back, but at least we got a good start. We know what to work on. Speed limit of 120. So one of the things I'll want to do now after this is probably replace this engine here. As well as that last passenger car. All right, speed limit of 110 coming up. All right. So from this point on, there's some additional tweaking I'll do, and I'll test it out each one. Swap this for a better passenger car. I will remove or replace this car with something more appropriate to fit the rest. And then I'll take a full run testing out PCB and full safety systems on this upgraded route, because that's the primary reason that I got the mod, was to have improved signaling. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. I think that you've learned enough to be able to go through any issues and to swap. If you can find a scenario for Freiburg Basel that is a little simpler, that will of course go quicker. And if you run into the memory problem like I do, just start replacing some of the consists. And I'll do a full run once I do a little bit more tweaking here. Good day.